I really kind of want to urge people to listen to his call, because he's a lot more thoughtful on these conference calls than he was at one point, just because he used to have so much fun. But I mean, he's really just talking about, look, I want to produce the most cars possible. In order to do that, I can't introduce new cars that will make it so that, or trucks that'll make it so that they can't produce as much as they want, and that the real focus is self-driving, and stop worrying about these other things. We'll be able to figure it out. And David, one of the things that I absolutely love is that he has a narrative now. It's kind of like Andy Grove in the old days when he was on Intel. Yeah. Here's the narrative, and if you want to deviate from the narrative, I'm not really interested in talking to you. You caught that one moment when Tony Sacconaghi asked a question from Bernstein.
Oh, your favorite analyst.
Yeah, and he basically just says, look, that's are you listening? That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, Mr. Musk doesn't suffer fools gladly.
No,
Never
he
has.
doesn't.
Never has.
Don't you like that?
Well, yeah, you can have that kind of an attitude when you have the kind of success that he's been able to have.
Well, he's the only one that has that level of success. He's a remarkable man. He's remarkable.
I know. He's forever changed your thoughts of him as a result of your meeting him late last year, or whenever that was.
Well, I mean, I just think that when he's talking about the idea that if you want to know how to control inflation, you do self-driving cars. Now, you know who else feels that way, and they're not really aligned, is Jensen Huang. We talked to ServiceNow, talked to Bill McDermott later, but these guys think it's the future. But of course, Carl, one accident and people think it's not the future.
But there also is a level of criticism of saying that they're not ready for fully autonomous at Tesla, and selling anything along those lines that says you can just sit in the back seat. Right. Don't do that.
No, but
at all. That it is nowhere near ready for prime time.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if you're selling the stock here, what you're selling is the idea that he can't get the chips that he wants right now, and that is a constant theme. Carl, there isn't anyone who's getting the chips. No one. Ford, GM's not getting the chips. Anyone who needs chips.
You told us this was going to be. You told us this was going to be kind of getting better by now.
The demand okay, so that's a good point.
The chip thing. I mean, I remember you telling me it was going to get better.
Can I finish? Lam Research, Tim Archer, who I was being nice. I didn't mean to say it like that. Tim Archer from Lam Research.
It sounded like a conversation at the dinner table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim Archer.
Amongst the loving family that occasionally will, have a little spat.
You think he'll let me talk? When does he let me talk?
Go ahead and finish your thoughts.
Thank you. Okay. Unless it's Jeopardy, I can't talk. Okay, so you have to go listen to Tim Archer, who's really fabulous. He runs Lam Research.
Yes.
And in it, he talks about how there were some crucial parts that made it, well, actually one crucial part, that made it so he couldn't deliver all the machines that make it so that someone can produce a lot of chips. Mm-hmm. So the supply chain problems has now actually reached this level where you can't get the machines to make the chips, David. So if you read what Lam says, you realize, wow. I mean, even when they open this new Malaysian factory, and they're opening factories everywhere, what happens is that if you're counting on machines to make chips, they're not making enough. And so that's where, it's all the way upstream now that the problem is. So you may think it's going to ease, and then Tim Archer, whom I've trusted the whole way, says, sorry, we couldn't make all we want. But now what happens is a new theme, and Carl, this is what's the most worrisome theme. People are melding, the analysts are melding what Powell said with the information. And what they're saying is, by the time Lam Research gets all its machines, and then you make all your chips, we will have an inventory recession because Jay Powell will have raised 6 times. Now, that is literally what people who make semiconductors listen to on their conference call. And it's, you're Tim Archer, and everybody comes and says, listen, I missed the beginning of the call. I've been on another call. But don't you think there's going to be a big overhang of machines? And then the next guy comes and says, you know what? I'm really sorry. I missed the last call. No one's even listening to the call. They've all made up their minds that we're going to have too many chips by Q4.
So do you remember a couple summers ago where we couldn't get gym equipment?
Yes.
It's called the bullwhip effect.
Yes.
There's double ordering. Those double orders get canceled. There'll be a time, Jim, where there's going to be plenty of chips.
See, I would say that the smartest people I deal with say that's happening in Q4. And that by the time that, and you'll be talking to Pat Gelsinger, by the time Pat Gelsinger actually is able to make what he needs to make, we don't need it. Now, is that necessarily the case? I don't know. I mean, we double order it. Yeah, I would double order if I were in a position of needing chips.
Obviously, there's Intel, which reported its fourth quarter.
By the way, it was a great quarter. Everything's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. And by the way, it's great. And we're building everything, and we're king. There, you don't need to listen.
Okay, we don't need to listen. You don't need me to read it. Sometimes, by the way, we forget about Samsung, which is now the largest semiconductor manufacturing company by revenues in the world.
Extraordinary.
And an enormous part of the South Korean economy,
right?
Which also reported earnings that were